I just woke up on a desert island. No idea how I got here. No wreckage, no supplies. Just me, the clothes on my back, and a thick wall of jungle ahead. The instinctive part of my brain is screaming, eat some fish, crack open a coconut, you'll be fine. And maybe that would work for a few days, maybe a week. But then what? That kind of plan doesn't go far. After a while, your body starts to shut down, not from hunger, but from what you're missing: nutrients, vitamins, minerals, a slow, painful collapse. That's how people die in survival situations. Not from starvation, but from deficiency. I've read about this before. In the SAS Survival Handbook, it's practically a Bible among survivalists. Not just random tips, it's a guide built from real experience. The guy who wrote it, John Lofty Wiseman, was the youngest person to ever pass selection for the British SAS. That's the Special Air Service, the UK's version of Navy SEALs. He served 26 years, doing everything from counter-terrorism to deep recon missions. He knew what he was talking about, and this book covers everything: jungle crashes, car wrecks, lost at sea, and yes, getting stuck on a desert island with nothing. It's not some fantasy manual about surviving with gear and a multi-tool. It's about what you do when you have absolutely nothing. And that's my situation. No radio, no flare gun, no fishing pole, just an overwhelming silence, and the realization that this island, wherever it is, might be my home for the foreseeable future. But not all desert islands are the same. Some are volcanic, some are barren, some are packed with jungle. I can't plan for all of them, so I'll have to work with what I've got. And from the looks of it, this one is tropical. Palm trees, white sand, probably somewhere in the South Pacific or the Caribbean. That means three things. It's hot, it's humid, and it rains often. Temperatures around 70 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and rain pretty much every few days. It's not a paradise, it's a pressure cooker. Luckily, the island's not massive. I can probably walk across it in a day, maybe two. Sandy coastlines, dense jungle center. That gives me a few immediate advantages. Plenty of shade, access to coconuts, probably fish in the shallows, but no guarantees. I don't know where the nearest land is. I don't know if anyone's looking for me. I don't even know if shipping lanes pass nearby. For now, I can't assume anyone's coming. I have to treat this as long-term, maybe permanent. The first thing I have to get right is my mindset. It would be so easy to panic, collapse in the sand, cry, but that's how you die. If I'm going to make it, I need to stay calm. Panic burns calories. Panic leads to dumb decisions. I don't have the luxury for either. I need to think logically. Every move I make now matters. Physically, I know I'm in okay shape, but surviving here will test every part of that. Water, food, shelter, every one of those takes work. Sometimes hiking, lifting, climbing, carrying. I'll need to ration my energy. Rest when I can. Don't push it, but I'll also need to stay active enough to make progress each day. The one thing I absolutely cannot afford is injury. Even a minor cut could get infected out here. A broken leg, that's a death sentence. Every movement, every decision, I need to think through the risks. There are venomous bugs, snakes, and who knows what else in this jungle. And if I wade into the water, I have to shuffle my feet to avoid stingrays or sea urchins. I'm not afraid to climb, but I better be damn sure there's not an easier way to get what I need. The truth is, desert islands can actually be pretty resource rich. The coast is a buffet. Coconuts, fish, mollusks, maybe even seaweed. But I can't live on the beach. That's just asking for trouble. The sun here is brutal. Without cover, I could get heat stroke or sun poisoning in a single afternoon. Open blisters, nausea, headaches. And the sandflies, they carry disease. Getting bitten could end everything before it even begins. On top of that, storms can roll in fast. And when they do, that beautiful beachfront turns into a death trap. Tides rise, shelters get washed away. It's not where I want to build my base. Instead, I need to move inland, to the tree line. The jungle canopy gives me cover from the sun and protection from storms. It's where the real survival begins, and probably where I'll find what I need next. I need water. That's the first real non-negotiable priority. I can go a while without food, but without water, I'm looking at maybe 3 days. Less if the heat gets worse. And it will. Every breath, every step, every bead of sweat is draining moisture from my body. Even just sitting here in the shade doing nothing, I'm still losing about 2 pints a day. The average person loses 4 to 6 pints per day from normal activity. And if I'm going to survive, normal isn't on the table. I'll be hiking, chopping, building, sweating. That means I need a source. Fast. There's no magic number for how much I need. Every body's different. You can drink less than you lose, but only for so long. Eventually, the tank runs dry. Until I find that source, I have to do everything I can to slow the leak. No unnecessary movement. No sun exposure. No talking. Breathe through my nose. Don't eat. That last one's critical. Digestion needs water. Eating while dehydrated forces the body to steal fluid from vital systems just to process the food. That's a shortcut to organ damage. No food until I have water. So where do I look? First idea, dig. Just above the beach, right where the slope flattens out. That's the high water line. I dig a few inches down and maybe I'll find moisture. Rainwater and groundwater filter through the sand. What I'll get is probably brackish. Half salt, half fresh. But if I'm desperate, it's drinkable. Not great, but drinkable. Then there's rain. Tropical climate means it's bound to come eventually. I need to be ready when it does. I can use big leaves, tree bark, anything wide and curved to catch and store it. It might be dirty, sure, but rainwater is still one of the safest bets in the wild. The problem? I don't know if rain is coming in time. I can't wait around hoping clouds show up before my body gives out. There's dew. I almost forgot about that. High humidity means it forms overnight on plants. I can use my shirt or any cloth to soak it up, then wring it out into my mouth. Better yet, tie fabric around my ankles and walk through the morning undergrowth. Every step collects more dew. It's slow, but it adds up. Next option, coconuts. The island's got palms, so that's promising. Fallen coconuts are a gold mine. Each one can hold nearly a quart of liquid. I can crack them open with a rock, smash off the husk, pierce the eye, drink. Coconut water is about 50% actual water, but I have to be careful. Young coconuts, or really old ones, can cause diarrhea, and that's the last thing I need. One bad coconut can dehydrate me worse than not drinking at all. And I can't rely on them long term. Coconut water is a diuretic. It makes you poop more. Drink too much of it, and I'll be losing more fluid than I'm gaining. If I need to climb for a coconut, I better be damn sure it's my only option. Falling now could end everything. If I have no choice, I'll shimmy up with my feet, not arms, and use my shirt tied around my ankles for grip. There's another option I've read about. Tapping coconut palms for sap. Break off a branch and I might get a slow, steady drip for 12 hours. Then cut a little deeper to get more flow. Not as much water as a full coconut, but safer and easier. If I'm lucky, maybe there's a pool of fresh water deeper in the jungle. A pond, stream, something. But it's a gamble, and even if I find one, I can't just drink it. I have to check it first. If there's animal carcasses or dead vegetation nearby, it's likely contaminated. If it looks safe, I still need to boil it, which means I need fire. I'll get to that later. One trick I keep in mind: some plants collect water naturally. Cup-shaped leaves can hold rain or condensation. There's one called the traveler's palm. If I find it, each base can hold almost 2 liters of water. That's a win. But I also have to remember what not to do. I can't drink seawater. I can't drink my own urine. Not unless I somehow distill them, and that's just not possible with no gear and no fire yet. The effort required wouldn't justify the payoff. Point is, water is everywhere if I know where to look, and how not to screw it up. I can't rely on just one source. I'll need a mix. Dew in the morning, rain if it comes, coconuts when I can, maybe dig pits as backup. And always ration. Find it, filter it, store it. That's my mission for today. And once I have that figured out, I can finally think about what comes next. Food. Because if I don't get calories in soon, my body's going to start breaking down fast. Now that I've got water, at least something drinkable, I can finally think about food. But here's the catch. I can't just rely on fish and expect to survive. That might work in the short term, but long term, fish are great. Lots of protein, sure, but they're missing key vitamins, minerals, and most of the energy my body actually needs. Survival isn't just about eating, it's about eating right. What I really need is variety. Carbs, fats, proteins, minerals, vitamins, all of it. Carbohydrates are my body's primary fuel. They keep the brain running, muscles moving, everything functioning. They're also the easiest to digest and convert into energy. And the best part? They don't require much water to metabolize, which is huge out here. Carbs come from plants, roots, fruits, grains, even some tree saps. Without them, my body slips into ketosis, where it starts burning fat like crazy. Sounds fine until I remember ketosis isn't some trendy diet here, it's starvation. Extended ketosis leads to nausea, vomiting, fatigue. It's dangerous when I'm already pushing my limits. There are 2 kinds of carbs, sugars and starches. Sugars come from fruits and syrups, if I can find any. Starches come from roots and tubers, things I might be able to dig up. Tropical islands usually have some kind of edible root vegetable. I'll have to look carefully and test everything before I eat it. Fats are another critical energy source, especially if I can't eat often. They insulate the body, protect my organs, and build up energy reserves. But fats are tricky. They take a lot of water to digest, and water is something I still need to conserve. I'll have to balance how much fat I eat, depending on how hydrated I am. I can get fats from fish, maybe eggs if I'm lucky, nuts if I find the right trees, and even some oily plants. Crabs and sea turtles, if I catch them, could also provide fat. Then there's protein. This one's vital. Proteins help my body repair itself. Muscles, skin, even internal organs. If I'm low on carbs and fat, my body will start burning protein for energy. That's when things really go downhill. Muscle wasting, weakness, eventually organ failure, fish, shellfish, insects, nuts. Those are my main protein sources here. Maybe birds or reptiles if I can catch them. But I can't ignore the small stuff, trace minerals and vitamins. Without them, everything starts to fall apart. The good news, most minerals are found in plants. Another reason why I can't ignore island vegetation. Vitamin C is going to run out fast. My body can't store much of it. Without it, I get scurvy. First, my gums swell, then my joints ache, then my wounds stop healing. Eventually, everything breaks down. I need citrus or greens. Anything remotely like spinach or herbs. Tropical fruits usually help. I'll eat every one I can find. Vitamin A is another priority. Without it, I'll lose my night vision. Leafy greens and fish oils can cover that, if I find them. So, I'll need to build a varied diet. Fish for protein and fat, fruits and plants for vitamins and carbs, whatever else I can track down. If I stay diverse and cautious, I can keep my body running. As I move toward the shoreline, I can already see my best bet. Seafood. The tide pools, rocks, and shallow water are teeming with life. Mussels, oysters, worms, even sea cucumbers and urchins. I know where to look. Under rocks, in the sand, along the surf line. When the tide goes out, it leaves behind all sorts of buried snacks. Look for little holes in the sand. Those usually mark where something's hiding. Dig there and boom, free food, crabs, clams, worms. Around the rocks, I check for mussels. I need to be careful. A mussel should close when I tap it. If it doesn't, it's dead. Don't eat it. Also, in hot tropical climates, mussels can be poisonous during the summer. If it's summer, I'm skipping them altogether. And if a mollusk is easy to remove from a rock without effort, that usually means it's dead. And if it's dead, it's risky. I don't eat anything questionable. I can't afford to gamble with food poisoning out here. I keep my eye out for certain shells too. Auger or turret shells. They look harmless, but the creatures inside can sting. Not deadly, but painful enough to mess up my day. Everything I gather from the sea will need to be cooked, which means fire. I'll get to that next, but I need to start collecting food while I plan. Most fish are safe to eat, but I'm not taking chances with the ones that have obvious spines or barbs, especially in shallow water. They're usually venomous and hard to see. Some hide under the sand, like stonefish. Those things are nasty. One sting and I might not make it. When I wade in, I use a stick to prod ahead. I don't walk blind into water anymore. Octopuses are a huge win if I find them. High in protein, large, and filling. If I spot a crevice surrounded by discarded shells, there's a good chance one's hiding there. I can try a spear or maybe bait it out. But I have to watch out for its beak. Some species can bite and some are venomous. The worst one? The Australian blue-ringed octopus, beautiful and deadly. If it bites me, I'm done. No anti-venom. It's found in tide pools like this. That thought alone keeps me sharp. I need to be strategic with my fishing. Rising tides are no good. I'll just end up retreating and soaking my shoes. Salt water destroys fabric fast, and I can't afford to lose protection on my feet. So I gather what I can now. Cook later. Between mollusks, fish, and crustaceans, the ocean is generous if I don't get greedy and if I stay careful. I didn't realize how cold it could get at night on a tropical island until the first sunset. That's when I understood I need fire, not just to stay warm. Fire means clean water, cooked food, protection, and maybe, just maybe, a smoke signal that could save my life. But with nothing, no lighter, no matches, I had to make fire the hard way. Friction. It took hours of trial and error. My first attempt was the fire bow. I shaped a stick of bamboo into a spindle and found a harder piece of wood to act as the base. Then I used some fabric from my shirt to string a bow together. I wedged the spindle into a little notch in the baseboard and began sawing the bow back and forth. It was awkward at first, but eventually I got a rhythm. The key was pressure. I used a stone to press down on the spindle while rotating it rapidly. After what felt like forever, smoke started to curl up, then glow, just like the tip of a cigarette. I quickly dumped a wad of dry fibers onto it. Bird nest fluff, shaved bark, anything light and dry, a flicker, then flame. It felt like magic, but it was just persistence. Later, I tried another method, the fire plow, slightly easier. I carved a groove into a flat piece of wood, then rubbed the tip of a softer stick up and down in it like I was grinding my way to sanity. Again, smoke, dust, a little ember. Same result, slightly less frustration. To keep any fire alive, I needed 3 things: tinder, kindling, and fuel. Tinder is what catches fire first. I started collecting anything dry and fibrous: shaved wood, dead grass, bird feathers, dry mushroom gills. I stored it under shelter, always keeping a handful dry, just in case I needed to restart. Kindling is the bridge. Thin twigs that light up quickly and help feed the flames. Fuel is what really sustains the fire. Bigger logs, dense wood, the heavier the better. It burns hotter and longer. I learned to mix dry wood with green wood to balance it out. I didn't waste bamboo on fire. It burns fast and is too valuable for shelter and tools. But I did use damp wood sometimes. It doesn't burn well, but the smoke it makes is great for keeping insects away. My fire became a ritual. I'd stack the tinder, lay kindling in a crisscross pattern over it, like Lincoln logs, and slowly feed it fuel until the fire could sustain itself. Once I had fire, the next challenge was cooking. When I caught my first fish, I realized I had no idea how to clean it. But I figured it out. Used a sharp rock to scrape off the scales, working from the tail to the head, then sliced open the belly and scooped out the guts. After rinsing it in ocean water, it was ready to cook. Boiling became my go-to method. I used a thick piece of hollow bamboo, set over the fire like a pot. It worked. I could boil fish, plants, anything, and keep the nutrient-rich water too. Roasting was simple. I speared the fish on a bamboo stick and turned it slowly over the flame. If the fire got too hot, I'd burn the outside while the inside stayed raw, so I learned to cook low and slow. I thought about grilling, a rock slab over the fire, but that took too much fuel to heat properly. Not worth it. Boiling, I found, was ideal. Not only did it cook everything evenly, it kept me from losing nutrients into the dirt or ash. And after cooking meat, the fat and salts in the water made it valuable to drink, especially since salt loss is a real risk when you're sweating constantly in the heat. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. Everything I ate was simple, functional, and designed to keep me going another day. What surprised me most? Cooking became the thing that grounded me. Building the fire, preparing food, it gave structure to the chaos. It made the island feel less like a prison and more like a place I might actually survive. Once I had shelter, fire, and a way to cook food, I felt like I was finally getting somewhere. But I kept running into the same problem. Everything I needed to do required tools. Without a knife or rope or some way to catch food reliably, I was stuck. So I had to make them. The most important tool? A blade. I started by finding 2 stones, one round, heavy, and smooth, my hammerstone. The other jagged and angular. I placed the jagged one on my thigh, angled just right, and tapped it with the hammer. Shards started breaking off. Razor sharp pieces. Crude, but they worked. I had knives. To sharpen them, I dragged the edge across a smooth rock at a 45-degree angle. It took patience, but eventually I could make clean cuts through plant fiber, skin fish, even shave wood. The next issue, food. I couldn't rely on random foraging forever. I needed fish. Tropical waters are full of them, reef fish, small schools hovering in the shallows. The trick was figuring out how to catch them. I started with the obvious, a spear. I carved one from a long piece of bamboo, sharpening the end with my stone blade. It worked, but it was hard. The fish move fast, and the water plays tricks on your eyes. Refraction makes them look higher than they really are, so I had to train myself to aim just beneath them. Eventually, I added prongs to my spear, split the end, and wedged in extra sharpened sticks, binding them with cordage. That increased my chances. Still, it took practice. I missed a lot, but when I got it right, extremely effective. After that, I tried something more passive, a fishing line. I made the rig from whatever I had. Cordage from palm fibers, a straight stick as the pole, and a bit of flexible wood as a makeshift float. For weight, I tied on a small rock. Hooks were trickier. Sometimes I sharpened thorns. Other times I used bent pieces of wood lashed together. And in some cases, I didn't even need one. Some fish just swallow the bait whole, and the line can get caught deep enough to hold. For bait, I used insects, worms, even soft berries. When that failed, I carved fake bait out of soft wood, something fish-shaped, tied with string. Ugly as hell, but it worked if I twitched it just right in the water. The best trick, set multiple lines in the evening, right before sunset, and check them again at dawn. Most fish feed during those hours anyway. I avoided midday fishing. It was a waste of energy and sun exposure. Then I tried fish traps. These took time, but they were efficient. I built a cone-like structure from bamboo, wide at the front, narrowing toward the back, with a tight entry. Fish swim in but can't figure out how to escape. I placed them where fish naturally congregated, near rocks or seaweed beds. Crabs, shrimp, even small lobsters sometimes found their way in. With enough traps scattered along the shallows, I could check them daily like a pantry. To tie all this together, literally, I needed cordage. I made it from bark and fibrous plants. Long strips of palm, twisted and braided together. Sometimes I combined fibers to make them stronger. Every length of rope I made was precious. I saved clothing scraps too, but only when absolutely necessary. I needed my clothes for sun protection. As I started stacking up tools, lines, traps, and bundles of cordage, the island began to feel more like a system I could manage, and less like a sentence. But then the realization hit me hard. I wasn't getting off this island, not on my own. I fantasized about building a raft, pushing out into the blue. But that's suicide. The open ocean doesn't care. A raft holds only so much water, so much food. If the waves don't get you, the sun will. If you're lucky, you last a few days. If you're not, it's over in hours. So I accepted it. This island, the trees, the fish, the sandflies, the heat, this was home now. Survival wasn't about escape. It was about endurance. My only real hope was that someone might find me. A plane overhead, a ship on the horizon. And if that ever happened, I needed to be ready to signal them fast. After weeks of surviving, eating, sleeping, building, fixing, I had one final realization. I needed a way to be found. If I ever wanted to leave this island, I couldn't rely on luck. I needed a signal, something that cut through the trees, clouds, and distance. Smoke. A thick white column of smoke, rising, steady, unnatural, is one of the few signals people still recognize globally as a distress call. I knew that if I ever saw a ship or heard a plane, I had to be ready. So I built 3 fire pits spaced a few feet apart. That's the universal emergency signal. 3 fires in a row. I didn't keep them burning constantly. It would waste wood, but I kept them ready. Each one was covered from rain and stocked with dry tinder and kindling nearby. I practiced lighting them fast. If I saw anything on the horizon, I'd have them roaring within minutes. To get that thick white smoke, I burned green leaves, palm fronds, wet vines, living vegetation. They don't burn clean, but that's exactly the point. The moisture makes them smolder, and the more they smolder, the more visible the smoke becomes. Even one signal fire might work. But I figured if I had the energy to build 3, I should. Why leave my future to chance? With the signaling plan in place, it felt like the final piece of the puzzle had clicked. But so did something else. A harder truth. I wasn't getting out of here unless someone found me. Not tomorrow, not next week, maybe not even this year. And if I tried to leave on my own, I'd die. The ocean is merciless. Romantic stories of people rafting to freedom are just that. Stories. Out here, without GPS, maps, or supplies, pushing into the open sea is a death sentence. A raft can't hold enough food or water. And even if it could, the moment the wind picks up or the waves shift, you're done. It's over. The island, though? The island has everything. Water, shade, food, shelter, even eventually routine. So, I let go of the fantasy of escape. I stopped planning to leave, and I started planning to live. Not just exist, but truly live. On my terms, with the resources I'd gathered, the tools I'd built, the systems I'd designed. The goal changed. I wasn't surviving until rescue. I was surviving because I could, because I adapted, because I endured, because I refused to give in. This island tried to kill me, but now it keeps me alive